It's been a long week after losing to the no-names. But the Eagles, they get an opportunity to right the ship, to use the Rams as a springboard again to get their season. And oh yeah, by the way, Miles Sanders is back.
Well, hello friends, Mark Holmes.
I'm a grown-ass man. See, I'm a grown-ass man. Grown-ass man.
Hey everybody, King Dingbat here. I'm in my garage with a cigar. It's only a candy cigar because my wife won't let me smoke one after I put that big fat head up in our bedroom.
Let's get rid of that. At this point, I'd be happy for Dak to be playing for somebody else. And my team stinks. I agree. Stinks.
They laugh about us. We're a disgrace. We suck.
I am now Philly 500's bitch.
Dallas still stinks. You're by the way, King Dingbat here. Are you ready for Rams? Eagles, week 2. Cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be streaming it this Sunday, so you don't want to miss it. Now, we need this game. It's been a long week after the loss to the no-names. But before I get into the preview prediction of this game, I got to talk a little bit about this article. I have it right here from Pro Football Network, where it says NFL rumor, Doug Pederson has reached his limit. And then it goes on to basically say, and this is from Tony Pauline saying, people, not him, are saying, some people around the league saying that Doug Pederson has maxed out. He has reached his limit. He is now overstressed. And it's basically downhill from here for the Eagles. Now, when I hear stories like this, I'm very skeptical. Even if it's somewhat true, which I don't believe it is. But I get somewhat skeptical. I kind of wonder where this is coming from, who's putting it out there, and why. How would people around the league know Doug Pederson is so stressed out, he's freaking out? Is somebody within the organization saying so? You know, I think back to 2017. I think back to when, I forget the dingbat's name. What was the guy? I forget his name. But he puts out an article saying Doug Pederson is the worst coach in the National Football League. Now, this insider, he had connections to Jim Schwartz, and the thought was that Jim Schwartz really is the coach of the Eagles behind the scenes, and that he was just waiting for his opportunity to take over for Doug Pederson, right? This is what they said. Total bullcrap. I did a parody video on it. It was called Doug Pederson Corleone, because I was saying Doug needs to double moonwalk these people's ass, right? If that's the case, go double moonwalk Jim Schwartz's ass. Take control of your team. Well, what did Doug do? He goes and he wins a Super Bowl. So, when I hear stories like this, I think it's totally ridiculous. Now, me personally, my most impressive memory of Doug Pederson, besides the balls he had in the Super Bowl, was how he handled the playoffs that year after you lost Carson Wentz, and you had to kind of make your offense fit Nick Foles. I thought that was a genius coaching job. Now, I will say, some people think Frank Reich deserves the credit, and it was all Frank Reich, and I like Frank Reich a lot. And when I watch the Colts, I do see a lot of that 2017 Eagles offense. I think Doug Pederson's a good coach. The players love Doug Pederson. I don't think he is maxed out. I think he still has a ways to go to learn, to be better, especially when we're talking about in-game calling of plays. Maybe, learning to have more balance. Stupid fires again. But I think that this article is ridiculous. I think that rumor is ridiculous. And I do. I question where a rumor like that comes from, because when I hear things like that, I kind of feel like it comes from an inside source somewhere inside, somebody who's disgruntled or something like that. And that, to me, is the only thing I worry about. It's not really that I worry about if Doug Pederson is maxed out. I don't believe that at all. I think Doug has a lot more left to give, and hopefully it starts this Sunday. So let's talk about this game this Sunday, because it's a big game for the Eagles. Like I said, you can't afford to go to 0-2, okay? You just can't afford it. And the Rams, they're coming off a big win Sunday night against the stinky Cowboys, and they got to be feeling good about themselves. And they're coming into Philly, okay? And usually this is a huge advantage for the Eagles. You're at home. The Eagles play great at home. They play good, and, they get pumped up off of the crowd. Well, guess what? The Eagles have no crowd. This is one of the big concerns I have about home field advantage this year, because the Eagles really feed off their fans. They've always fed off their fans, and now they have nobody at the stadium. They're not even letting people go out there and tailgate. Totally ridiculous in my opinion. But you see other teams around the league like Dallas, they get 25% capacity, but not the Eagles. Why is that? I wonder. I don't really wonder. I already know. I'm just saying sarcastically. But I don't like it. I don't like it in terms of it's not going to help the Eagles. It is not home field advantage. So this is really right up the Rams' alley, especially for them, because most of their home games, they got more fans from the other teams than they do of their own. So for them to have an empty stadium is an advantage for the Rams. That is one thing I don't like. Some things I do like. You have Miles Sanders. He's full go. He's ready to go. Lane Johnson, he says he's going to play, although he's not healthy. I'm still waiting for confirmation on guys like Derek Barnett, Hargrave, and things like that. Nothing out at this point, but I'm sure it'll come out later today. Lane Johnson, it worries me if he's not full go. Although I don't think the offensive line could play any worse than it did last week. Miles Sanders said he could have played last week. They held him back one more week. This is important, okay, because if he's 95% with a hamstring, you shouldn't play him. You shouldn't play him until he's 100%, and it sounds like he's 100%. I can't afford to be limiting Miles Sanders. I need him full go, especially this week, okay? Now, when I look at the Eagles' offense, This is what I get terrified about, is Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald on the other side. You would think, based upon what you saw last week, he's going to double moonwalk our ass. Carson's going to be legless. He may be legless after this game. That's what you think when you know you're going up against Aaron Donald. I hope the Eagles have a really good plan for him, because we need it, okay? And Carson has to respond. He has to rebound from that game last week, because he got knocked around. He threw an interception, and he just was off after that the rest of the game. He needs to respond with a big game. And Doug Pederson's going to have to help him out. One of the things that I complained over the last few years about the Eagles is they're so one-dimensional. They had no ability to stretch the field, none whatsoever, and it made defenses cheat up and not even challenge the Eagles. They would come up, defenses would come up and let them do all short, quick passes, and they would wrap them up right away. And they were just daring the Eagles to go long, and the Eagles wouldn't. I think they went, like last year, it was like 4 or 5 straight games not throwing the ball over 25 yards. Okay? And I wanted a more vertical game. And last week, we got it. I think Carson threw over 20 yards like 8 times. Okay? So I love seeing the Eagles go vertical. However, just because you can go vertical now, I don't want you to forget everything else you did well. I don't want you to become one-dimensional the other way. It's not one extreme or the other. You have to have a balance. And last week, the Eagles just forgot everything they did well. And it was just pretty much bomb. Way too many deep passes last week. They needed to mix it up, especially when Washington no-names made adjustments. The Eagles didn't make any. So what I want to see from Doug Pederson and the Eagles this week is I want to see a much more balanced offense. Of course, I want to see shots downfield. Hell, I'll see quite a few. But I also want to see a better running game. I also want to see quicker passes. I want Carson. You have to roll Carson out. Roll his ass out. Get him as far away from Aaron Donald as possible. And when you use a play action, Doug Pederson, when you use a play action, make sure that the defense is respecting the run. If they're not respecting the run because you're not running, then a play action only takes longer for Carson to get rid of the ball. It ain't worth it. And you saw that last week. The play action hurt the Eagles because the Eagles had no threat of a run game because they abandoned it. So get back to the run game. Get back to some quick, fast passes. Get rid of the ball quick so Donald can't kill Carson. And then take some shots downfield. Then you unleash Jalen Reagor. Then unleash Deshaun Jackson. I'm not saying by any means you shouldn't make a defense cover the whole field. Just be balanced about it. Last few years, they weren't balanced. They were short pass, quick pass heavy. Now, last week, they were pretty much deep pass heavy. Just be balanced. And if they can do that offensively, they can get their run game going with Miles Sanders, which is a huge deal to get him back in this game. No question about it. Because you saw how confident they were in their other running backs, which I'm a little surprised they still haven't made a running back move. Because what I saw last week was they weren't too keen on their running backs. So Miles Sanders back, roll Carson out, more quick passes, get rid of the ball quick, and then take your shots. Take your shots. Roll Carson out. You know what I mean? Buy him some time. Let him throw 80 yards downfield. You know what I mean? You'll be fine. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. Those are the two guys that scare me on defense. But I think if the Eagles are balanced, we'll do a good job. In the past, the Eagles have done a good job against the Rams. They've also used the Rams to kind of springboard them into going on a roll. Remember, 2017, they lose to Seattle. They go in. Carson Wentz to win the division. Has one of the greatest games before his injury. Gives the Eagles a lead late in the fourth quarter. And then what happens? They go on a roll. They wind up winning the Super Bowl. The year after that, Foles takes over. I think we're coming off a loss to Dallas. Season's on the line. Nobody thinks the Eagles could go beat the Rams on Sunday night. What do? They go there. They beat them on Sunday night. They go on a roll. They wind up beating Chicago in a playoff game. And they almost beat New Orleans. So we've used the Rams to springboard in the past. I want to see that again. Now, on defense, we got a lot worse. We got a lot more to deal with than we did with Washington last week. The no-names, I think, had no drives over 47 yards. So they were always in our field position, right? They were always on our side of the field when they scored points. You can't do that against Goff. You can't do that against McVay. You can't do that against the Rams. The Rams running game doesn't scare me, okay? We're not like the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys aren't that great against the run. We're pretty good, okay? But what scares me are guys like Woods, Cooper Kupp. Like, those guys scare me because McVay. I like McVay. I like how he calls his offense. I like how he rolls Goff out. He moves them around. I like Goff. I like Kupp. I like Woods. They can score points. They can drive the ball down the field. So they are going to. And they're going to score some points. So it's important that you get to Goff. You get to Goff. And hopefully the secondary holds up. Josh Sweat had a good game last week. I want to see more from Fletcher Cox this week. And hopefully we'll get Derek Barnett back and he'll make an impact too. I'm not sure if Brandon Graham's going to play. He's in concussion protocol. So getting to Goff is going to be important. The Rams in previous games versus us have moved the ball okay from the 20 to 20. They don't always score a lot of points, but they've moved the ball against us. So we got to be ready for that on defense. But of course, pressure, you got to get to the quarterback. I thought one of the things Jim Schwartz should have done last week was he should have blitzed more, especially against Haskins, a young quarterback. Goff has been around a little more. Still, I think if you get pressure to Goff, he will turn the ball over. He will. So I want to see more blitzes. I want to see the Eagles go at him. And if they do that, they'll be fine. But the key to this game really is going to be you can't turn the ball over. You have to be much more balanced on offense. And you're going to have to get pressure on Jared Goff. The Eagles do those three things. They're going to win this game. And when I look at this game and I make a prediction, I think that's what the Eagles are going to do. I think the Eagles are going to respond this week. I think this is going to be a close game, a nail-biter, a thriller. But I think the Eagles will win in the end, 24-20 to turn the season around. We'll be 1-1, and hopefully it'll springboard us, it'll get us going, and we'll get some guys back. I'm looking for Miles Sanders to come in and not be limited in the way he plays. Also, For channel members, I will be streaming the Monday night game this week for all channel members. I believe it's New Orleans. Oh, what the hell is the game? New Orleans Raiders. I think that's what it is. So this is going to be a Nelson Stinkalore laugh-along. That's what this is. Nelson Stinkalore laugh-along. We're going to laugh at his ass. So I'll be doing that for channel members on Monday. There were no real good games with Dallas and the Giants, to call because they're playing at the same time the Eagles. And as far as the rest of the NFC East goes, I think Dallas beats Atlanta. They're at home, like I said, 25% attendance, which is important. Atlanta stinks. So, yes, I said in my last video Dallas played in Atlanta. I was wrong. It's Dallas is in Dallas. So I got the Cowboys beating the Falcons. The Giants, I believe, play in Chicago. I got the Bears beating the Giants. As far as the 1-0 undefeated Washington no-names, they're playing the Cardinals. I believe they're in Arizona. I got the Cardinals beating them. So, by the end of this week, I have the Eagles 1-1, Washington no-names 1-1, Dallas 1-1, and then the New York Stinky Giants 0-2. And that's kind of how I see it. We're going to see. Like I said, I will be streaming this game this Sunday. So if you're new, please like, please subscribe. And thank you for watching this thing all the way through. And with that said, I'll see you guys Sunday. Take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.